Okay, welcome back to our remote writing workshop, everyone. Happy Friday. We have made it to Friday and it is a long weekend for at least most of us. So today we are talking about writing a strong outline and if you even need one. So for many authors, a strong outline is essential to crafting an equally strong book. But do you need one? And if so, how do you craft the best one possible? Today we're answering those questions and exploring sometimes the intimidating outline. So let's get straight to it. Should writers use an outline? Why or why not, Erin?
Well, the short answer is it depends. First, are you writing fiction or nonfiction? So let's start with fiction. So when writing a novel, it can go either way, really, depending on your story, characters, and really how you work best as a writer. I think that's the main thing. So the answer for fiction is write an outline if that method works for you. Think about, are you a planner? Do you work best with a clear, detailed vision? Are you a perfectionist? If so, you might want to map out your story and character arcs with an outline you can follow step by step. So if you write better and more fluidly, though, if you're flying by the seat of your pants, then you might want to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, it's really odd because I'm a planner and I'm a perfectionist, but I wrote a mystery novel myself while I was recuperating from foot surgery, and I went against my nature and just sat down and started writing. I tried so hard to write an outline and it just was not working. I was just staring at a blank page. So I just started writing and I wrote the entire book in like 3 weeks, and just that's what works for me. That's my method as a writer. So when I was finished, I reworked anything that needed clarity or restructuring, because that's just the kind of writer I am, as I discovered. But for others, beginning with an outline could be absolutely perfect for how they work. Some people just need that more detailed structure and vision.
Yeah, I think it really depends on either like the time or the part of the year it is, because I know sometimes people are just they have so much creative energy that they can put all of that forth and just it flows out of them. And because there's some days I'll write blogs or articles where I can write the whole thing in, maybe an hour and a half. But then there are some days where I'm like, I need structure. I need to follow a plan, or else I am just not going to do this the way it needs to be done. So definitely depends on style. And I think also depends on just what your energy is for that day or when you're working on it as well.
It's so true. I mean, you might start just writing and then you might get to your point and go, okay, this is going everywhere. I need to, get more focus, and you might have to stop and write an outline for the rest of it. So really, especially with fiction, just see what works for you.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I am a planner in its entirety. So all right. So how does a writer construct a strong outline if they choose to use one for fiction?
Well, first you want to decide on your story structure. So you want to pick a basic one, with an opener. You want a bit initial incident that really changes everything. Then you want to think of a series of crises to build the tension. You want a climax, and then you have your ending. But there's so many structures that you can follow. You can Google these. There's very classic ones. You have the hero's journey. There's a 7-point story structure, a 3-act structure. Dean Koontz has a wonderful structure that people follow. So Google these story structures and see which one speaks to you, which one speaks to your idea and the story you're envisioning, and choose one and map out that structure. So that would be the first step. Next, you want to decide on your characters' journeys and their character arcs. So you can create their backstories, make a list within this outline, and really get to know them. Even if the readers aren't going to see all this detail, it's going to help you as you begin writing. Next, you want to outline your plot. So this is, your sequence of events. But before you do that, you kind of want to choose your overall concept, whether it's a romance. So, you have confusion, distrust, mistakes, and you're jeopardizing the lover's happiness. There's also the transformational journey when a person undergoes an extraordinary change. Then you have the mix-up, where you have a naive person that's in a situation he or she doesn't understand, or they have to defeat the bad guys and find their way out of danger. Then you have temptation, where a person needs to decide whether to embrace one of their passions, anger, vengeance, and the character matures upon realizing these things about themselves. Then you have exploration, where a person travels, has new adventures, faces hurdles and challenges. You also have pursuit, where the characters chase wealth or fame and have to overcome all of these things to succeed. And then, of course, there's the hero story, where an ordinary person sacrifices to help others, and usually they don't realize that they're the hero until they face this challenge. So you have all of these different choices. You want to decide on that first. Then you can choose your setting, do all of that research. And then you get into kind of the real details. You want to write synopses for each chapter. It's best to do this in present tense. So for example, you write down, so-and-so arrives in Portland to confront her birth mother about putting her up for adoption. And that, you can end there. If you want to get a little more detailed in the chapter synopses, it's absolutely up to you. And then go through all of those. You've mapped it out. And when you've completed this really strong outline for your novel, you can easily just follow it, and you're going to stay focused. But along the way, feel free to make some adjustments.
Beautiful. Okay, so what about nonfiction? Outlines or no?
Well, now for nonfiction, especially when you're writing a business book, self-help, health, personal development, it's almost always a good idea to begin with an outline. Whereas with fiction, my advice is whatever fits your style. For nonfiction, we highly recommend even a basic outline. And why? Well, it helps you get and stay organized. You want to organize your material so that it has the biggest impact for the reader, which is very important. You also don't want to obviously forget to include anything. So it's helping you stay focused, and it also helps with writer's block and really that fear of getting started. So really the bottom line is, for nonfiction, outlines are very effective for writing very effective books.
Awesome. Yeah, completely agree. What are some practical methods for writing an effective, strong nonfiction outline?
Well, first, it's always smart to begin by writing a brief summary of your book, so you can establish your theme, the problem you're solving for your reader, the main points, and the reader takeaways. So you can approach this as if you're writing your book cover copy or your synopsis that's going to go on Amazon. Just, a paragraph or two establishing the overall theme, what you're trying to get across to the reader. So next, when you're getting more specific, you want to write summaries of your chapters. And that means you can write just a brief paragraph about each topic you want to cover. And this is when you figure out what needs to be said, so your key points and arguments. And at this point, your chapters don't need to be in order or even very detailed. Right now, you're just wanting to get down everything you want to discuss in the book and group those chapters by subject. So you're just organizing your thoughts. As an aside, most books have between 5 and 15 chapters, give or take. This is just a general idea, but if you have something like 50 chapters or 2 chapters, you might want to rethink that because it's kind of out of the ordinary. Right. So once you have all of these chapter summaries, then you can go and create a table of contents, which is just wonderful because that's really going to keep you focused. Yeah. So this is when you can list each chapter by number and when you're starting to kind of put things in order. And when you're listing the chapters by number, it's always nice to also write a one-line summary that goes beside the chapter that lists your main point, kind of keep things organized as well. And you can always check out the Greenleaf website or look back at our video because we have some wonderful information on what the foreword, preface, and introduction, what those sections are, and whether you want to include these in your book as well. So you can add those to the table of contents once you decide if those will have an impact on your book. So once you have your table of contents set, then you can create chapter outlines. So we're getting more and more detailed. So in a chapter outline, you can start with your chapter hook. And that's a line that draws in the reader, or a few lines. And this can be an anecdote, a question, a surprising statement, a story. You really want it to be something that captures the reader's attention and draws them into the chapter. So in the outline stage, you're obviously not writing out this hook, but you're just stating what the hook is. So once you have the hook, then you want to write down what your thesis is. What is the chapter about? Below that, you can write your supporting content, which is your facts, your evidence, your key points. And you don't need to include every minor detail here, but you want to make sure to include every point, every main point you're going to cover in the chapter. And you want to order these in a logical way so that you're developing your theme. Also make sure to include everything that your ideal reader should know. So look at it not just from your viewpoint, but really come at this from the reader's viewpoint, what they're going to need to take away from this, because you're the expert, not the reader. And so really look at it from their point of view. What information are they going to need?
Very important.
Next, it's good in your outline to group all the stories you want to include in the chapter. As we've talked about before, a wonderful way to make your nonfiction book compelling is to include engaging stories. So when you begin writing the actual book, these stories, of course, are going to be interspersed appropriately throughout each chapter. But in the outline, it's nice to keep them grouped separately for organization, easy reference, and then you can decide where to put them when you begin writing. You, of course, want to make the stories engaging and detailed and relevant to the chapter. And then you're going to write the key takeaways for each chapter. What do you want the reader to remember from each chapter? So really, this is when you say, this is what I just said. This is what I want you to remember. And this is kind of a little extra thing you can do. But finally, consider writing transitions, how you're going to segue between chapters, a line or two that's going to connect your opening hook to the next chapter, just to kind of give you an idea of how you're going to work that.
Absolutely. Really great advice. So these are really, really useful tips. Erin, excellent. So what is the assignment for this week? Let me guess. It is something to do with writing an outline.
Yes, you're right. How did you know? So yes, write an outline. So whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction, let's just give it a shot. Get some structure, use the tips that we've talked about, put your fingers to the keyboard and just lay it all out. So we're going to get your writing organized, and it can be a very basic outline if you want, get more detailed, and just see how it feels for you. Do you feel more settled with an outline or more constricted? Find out if you're the type of writer that's really going to work better or without an outline at all. But, if you're writing nonfiction, please try and use an outline. That's our advice.
Great advice. Awesome. So that's it for this week. Erin, thank you so much for the wonderful tips. I myself learned a lot, so I hope you guys did as well. We love to hear your feedback, so make sure you're engaging with us on these videos, letting us know how you like them. And of course, we are always open to hearing ideas for what you guys would love for us to cover during these videos. So make sure you guys are reaching out if you have any fun ideas for us. But we will see you guys next time. Everybody have a lovely and safe Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.